I think something you both have been mentioning, and I think that this is kind of the missing piece for a lot of men, is showing up.
But it's also a
Yeah.
form of discipline because you keep showing up.
You need
Yes.
that, right? Like
Yeah.
showing up, that's like half the battle right there. The in the mornings, it's hard and challenging to get up when it's cold and
Yeah.
you're got a warm bed and a warm blanket and you're like, dude, this sucks. And you step out and you're cold and you're like trying to turn off your alarm. You know what I mean? Like that's me every morning. Like, I hate it, but at the same time, that ability to show up is what sets you up
Hmm.
in the future. So, for example, if we break this down for whoever's watching or listening, what's something you want out of life? We talked about it, a couple weeks ago. What do you want? Right? You want a better job. If you're a business owner, you want, more cash flow. You want to improve your relationship with your
Relationship.
wife, with
Yeah.
your kids, right? Whatever. What do you want? And how can you add more discipline in that area?
Hmm.
How can you add more discipline into that area so you can
Yeah.
actually build towards what it is that you're asking for? And part of, and maybe you don't have that answer yet, but showing up, getting in the environment of where you need to be in proximity of where you want to go. So I had a client a while back, and he used to be an avid gym goer, and he started developing this weird. I don't want to say weird because that's kind of rude, but I don't even know what other word to use. It was weird. Uh, it was weird,
Unique. Unique.
unique. There you go, Samuel John. That's why you're here, bro. I love it. This unique anxiety about going to the gym, where this was his comfort zone, and I was like, hmm. So he would go to the gym and he would freeze, and then eventually he just stopped going. And I'm like, interesting. So then I'm like, okay, well, how about you just go in the parking lot? And then eventually, and this is like, he stopped going for over a year. Like he hasn't
Yeah.
been in a gym in over a year, but he really, really, really wants to go. And it was like, that's so interesting. Why? So then, long story short, we just like get in that environment.
Yeah.
Get up a little bit earlier. Okay, I'm early. What do I do now? I don't know. Maybe just go in the parking lot, drive to the parking lot. Oh, okay. He does that. And then literally we were slowly introducing him back into the
Yeah.
environment of the gym. He gets back in the gym and eventually he just kind of picks up where he left off. So it was like I said, it was weird to completely separate, but sometimes we're in that hole, and to get out of the hole, we have to slowly get
Yeah.
back and build up into that.
Yeah.
And it was just so cool to watch him from being totally exiled from something that he used to love into, hey,
Yeah.
the habit that we can create is let's just go to the gym. Don't worry about the workout you're going to do. Just go to the gym. Just be in
Yeah.
proximity in that environment. And then he gets in there, he's like, oh, I got to win.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe I will do a workout today. So it's like building these little small steps of confidence, and funny enough, it
Yeah.
worked.
Uh, Go ahead, Chip.
No, I was gonna say, do you think that is it safe to say that people when they actually or are afraid of self-assessment is because as a man, right? We were talking about on the Wednesday calls on the series that we're doing, men are afraid of failure, women are afraid of abandonment. So are they afraid to like
Sure.
self-assess to actually see that, oh my gosh, like I'm actually failing, therefore I have to step up, but therefore I am comfortable where I am, so I'd just rather be here. I don't know, like how, what do you what do you think, Samuel? Like
So you're asking a little bit of like how did he get into that place? Like what happened
yeah,
for him?
I would say, like, do you think
I
is it safe to say if you like
I don't
wouldn't
know
have,
for sure, but
I
but
would say
my
general
yeah,
speaking.
but if I'm gonna guess in terms of like because we're probably talking about a specific phobia,
Mm-hmm.
like developing a phobia. And yeah, I mean, it prob I'm gonna guess that something happened that didn't work out for him the way that he wanted it to, and then it started snowballing. So like the seed of I didn't do enough, I wasn't good enough, I wasn't strong enough, I wasn't, whatever enough. And then Satan uses that
Yeah.
seed and then snowballs, and that snowballs in a full blown phobia.
That's so funny because this specific person I'm talking about, this dude's like a ex bodybuilder.
Right. But
This
you
dude's
know, I mean,
huge.
those guys are the most obsessive, anxious ones
It,
around.
it
Yeah.
is. I know.
That's why they're doing what they're doing because it started with a fear.
Hmm.
You know, often, it's not all the time, but often if you ask some of those really fit guys, not all of them, but many of them were teased or bullied for some, and I'm not
Oh
saying that
yeah.
they were like beat up to a pulp, but someone probably pointed out a flaw
Yeah.
when they were a kid.
Right.
Like your chest is flat or something, or you have puny biceps, or and that planted a seed.
Right. Something that
And that
made him
can
feel
work out for
weak.
good. I'm not
Hmm.
criticizing. Please don't hear that as a like a shameful or horrible thing, but it just is what it is.
Right. And I mean that's why you build up this exterior, body,
Yeah,
and you feel like you're a scary dude, and
Hmm.
now
yeah,
because you got all this muscle walking around, and it's like it builds a lot of confidence.
yeah.
I'm not crapping on like bodybuilders or anything, but
No, no, not at
it
all.
is a
Yeah.
common theme that I see with a lot of them. It's they can be the biggest guy in the room, and they still in their minds are still the smallest guy
Yeah,
in there,
yeah.
and I think it's just
It's sad,
so interesting.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
because yeah, some of that's sad, and some of it is because I'm working with a gentleman right now who um it started from not being able to protect. Right? So
Mm.
now he's a really big guy. So he witnessed some violence as a kid, and
Yeah.
now I'm not I'm never gonna let that happen to me again. So lots of reasons, but in this instance, my instinct would say it probably stemmed from not fulfilling a self-imposed expectation, and then it ballooned out from there. If I
Mm.
can piggyback on something you said, Angelo, is like showing up at the gym. So this new year, and by the way, translate all of this to a relationship with your kids, with your wife. So get in it for 5 minutes. Do it for 5 minutes.
Mm.
Like stop thinking you need to do an hour in the gym.
Yeah.
Today I'm going to do 5 minutes, right? Because usually after you start, you'll want to keep going, you
Yeah.
know. But
Exactly.
if you tell your brain, Okay, I'll do it for 5 minutes," you can always stop, but you
Yeah.
probably won't.
But that's the thing, right? You need to get them small wins.
That one
Yeah.
percent.
That 1%. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
Angelo always says that one
Yeah.
percent.
yeah.
Go ahead. I think you
Mm,
describe it the
No,
best.
yeah, you're right. That's actually I wasn't even thinking about that. I totally missed out on it. We were talking about like 1% better every day,
hmm
right? And when we do the math, it's like okay, 60 minutes times 24. It's like I don't know, 1,400 minutes. I don't remember the math, but if you take 1% of that, it's actually
Yeah.
14.4 minutes. So if you spend 15 minutes a day, you're already 1% better in whatever said trait that you're trying to build.
Yeah.
15 minute, and here at Redwood, right? We've previously used the warrior, king, lover, the friend. We're also building out this faith, family, fitness, freedom, right? Like something people who have followed some of my journey in the past, that model that I've used with faith, family, fitness, freedom, the whole effort model. 15 minutes in
mm,
each of those quadrants, 1% better a day.
Yeah.
And people are like, that 1%, that's not a lot. Well, you know what? If you do 1% better every single day,
Mm-hmm.
and then you add that with a little bit of discipline, and then you show up 365 days later,
Yeah.
you're 365% better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing.
But that's exactly what it is. It's just taking that time. And I feel like a lot of times when you hear 15 minutes versus 1%, automatically like, your mind processes it different because it's like, well, 15 minutes, maybe I don't have 15 minutes. But when you approach it differently, when you discipline your mind to be like, well, it's just 1%, just 1%, that's like, oh, well, I think that's way doable than
Yeah.
maybe putting a time frame or a timeline. But it's like 1%, okay, I can try to do that
Yeah,
because it's
Yeah.
just 1%.
it is just 1%. That's all it is.
So I'm gonna piggyback on this idea too, because I had a client ask about how do I get motivated? And I
Mm.
want to talk about this because it's super, super important.
Yeah.
And this is for all of you who out there who are like, okay, how do I get motivated to go to the gym? How do I get motivated to connect with my kids or my wife, et cetera, et cetera? And do not rely on it. Stop thinking that you're going to be motivated. And people are sometimes shocked by that statement. Motivation will never, ever get you there, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now emotionally, that feels a little weird because you feel motivated after you do it. Okay. So our brains forget that it wasn't the motivation that got us there. So we
Mm.
believe it's motivation that's going to do it. So let me flesh all of that out. Okay. So you this guy goes to the gym. Let's use Angelo's. This guy goes to the gym. He goes to the parking lot. He says, "Okay, I did that." Okay, so what happened? It wasn't the motivation that got him to then go into the gym. It was the discipline to drive to it. Okay. But
Yes.
what you remember is the motivation because that's
Mm.
endorphins. That's that's feel good and we love that shit. Okay. So we think the motivation, okay, so now translate this back to the gym. So we all do this, me included. I say, when I feel like it, okay, tomorrow I'll go to the gym. Tomorrow I'm gonna do it because I'm gonna be motivated. I'm gonna have some coffee. I'm gonna eat right, and then I'm gonna go to the gym. And then you're not motivated. You don't want to do it because you end up having a donut, and then you feel bad about yourself for doing that, and then you don't do it. Okay, so do it anyways. Okay. And I'm going to make a plug, and I have not read the book. I just love the idea. I love this concept. And her name is, I think it's Mel Robbins. Um, she has a book, and I don't know what the whole, it might just be called this, but her idea, it's super simple. It's called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get to zero, you do whatever it is you don't want to do. You
Mm.
stop thinking and you just do it, right? Motivation will never carry you into whatever it is you want to do.
Mm.
Discipline wins every time over motivation at the beginning. Now, once you go to the gym, because I just experienced this, I had a long layoff. Once you go to the gym for about 3 weeks, then you're motivated because you see the gains. And
Yeah.
again, your brain thinks, oh, motivation is what got me here. No, no. I didn't want to go to the gym the first day. I knew I was going to walk back in there and there were going to be people that have steadily gone and they were going to be like, where have you been? Right.
Mm.
And by the way, none of them did that because that's all drama in my own head. Right. But it's
Mm.
what we believe.
Yeah.
Never, ever rely on motivation. It will never get you there. Rely on
Mm.
discipline.
I love
I love what you're saying because what I'm hearing is that discipline is the action, motivation is the reaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can't have a reaction without an action. So
That's
you
right.
can't just be motivated if you're not disciplined.
That's right.
So I love that. I think that's well said.
You know,
Well said, Samuel.
one thing that I've said in the past is just like you're saying, motivation is like an emotional thing. And what happens, we're humans, emotions change all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you rely on
Yeah.
emotions, then your
Yeah.
progress, your growth is
Yeah.
going to be up and down, just because we're so emotionally driven creatures.
Right.
So instead of motivation, I like to use inspiration, right? In spirit. If you
Uh-huh.
can stir something within, something deep, something true, something core inside of you, and you can stir that spirit, that is stronger than any emotional,
Yeah.
charge that you can spin on it. So if you have a real goal, like this guy who you were saying wants to be a better protector, that really works. There was
Right.
a point where when I was training for SWAT, CrossFit wasn't that big at the time, and it was just really starting to catch traction. But on the team, we had a guy who was already a CrossFit instructor, and it was I've been introduced to it, I've done it for a little bit, but this dude was like a high level, like he knows his stuff. Bro, I can't even tell you the type of workouts we would do where like I would literally take my shirt and just wring out the sweat, put it back on, and go for like the second half
Yeah.
of whatever. I was like, dude, this shit is wild.
Yeah.
And
CrossFit is another level. That's another
it,
level.
this
Yeah.
dude, granted, this dude was a D1 athlete, like this,
Mm.
and I'm trying to keep up with him. Like he obviously set the tone. But anyways, I remember when some of the in these really deep, intense workouts, I would be just like gassed out, and I'm like, dude, I went too hard too quick, and I'm there's still a lot of this workout in. I would really have to dig deep within me
Yeah.
and tap into an emotion or a memory that brought that dog out. And you guys know what I mean by bringing that dog out, right? Like, and one of the memories that I would tap into was when I got into a fight with this. I was a cop. I got into a fight with this guy, and I looked him in the eyes, and he was looking at me like he was gonna kill me. And in my head, I'm like, bro, you don't even know me.
Yeah.
I'm actually cool. Like,
Yeah.
like I feel like I'm kind of funny. Like we're cool. Like why would you want? You know what I mean? But I remember looking at his eyes and just seeing like a blank stare, and I'm like, this motherfucker really wants to kill me. And I remember just like fuck. Like I remember like my forearms just getting tired because I was trying to hold on to him. I don't remember if he had a knife or a gun, but I remember trying to hold him down and keep it away. And that memory, I I can see my heart rate bumping up now. Like I just thinking about it again,
Yeah.
created this like ah, and then like it got me that workout. It translated into like oh yeah, it wasn't motivation at the time. It was inspiration because that
Mhm.
charge came from a deep within.
So if I can piggyback on that and then elaborate and extrapolate it for people, like, because not everybody in the world wants to do CrossFit. Not everybody in the world wants to do ultra
Yeah,
marathons like I do.
100%.
But but
Only the
what
crazies.
what Angelo is talking about here also applies to whatever it is you want to accomplish, right? So, bringing the dog out, translating this spiritually, is this: the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.
We,
Okay.
Mm,
There is always more to give than we believe when we do not rely on our own strength, but we rely on the Holy Spirit within. And it just is the easiest to see, as Angela said earlier, it's just easiest to see physically. Okay. You always have more to give spiritually than what your flesh wants. So you're in an argument with your wife, and what your flesh wants to do is fight back, but your spirit can give something different. In your business, what you want to do is throw in the towel and go home. But the spirit says, no, stay another hour and work it out. And I am the first one, I'm the number one proponent of rest. Trust me, I think we live in a hustle culture that is antithetical to what God says. I am not speaking from that, but I am speaking when you hear that still small voice that says, go, my child, go. Don't listen to your flesh. Do not listen to your
mm,
flesh. Because if that small voice is there, then God is going to give you what you need to complete it.
mm.
that's beautiful. That is beautiful.
That hustle culture, man, is a real thing, especially here in the
Yeah.
U.S. Other countries are so good about prioritizing rest for their
Okay.
people. I think the U.S. is just.
I must not be from the US because like I prioritize rest like a MFer.
I mean, you're also
Like
Amish, so you're.
Well, it's biblical though. I mean, do you think God
Yeah.
needed a rest on the seventh day?
yeah.
Of course
Yeah.
not.
And
He's
Jesus
God.
was resting all the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He prioritized that as well. But it was more for us to, I feel like, get in tuned, and exactly what Sammy was saying, get in tune not only with your physical, but feed your spirit, feed your soul as well. Because we can put in our bodies, go to any store, grab it from the shelf, but what do you do with your spirit? How do you feed that? How do you maintain that constant discipline if you don't, go back into God's commandments, God's laws? Like how do you stay connected if you don't fall deeper and deeper in love with the author of the book, meaning
Yeah.
the Bible.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons, and going back to physical, but it's just an example here of every other category because we bonk in
Yep.
our relationships, we bonk with our kids, we bonk emotionally, etc. But it's one of the reasons I stopped training for an ultra marathon that I was doing. I was exhausted, and I didn't even know it. I thought that I was going through stuff emotionally, which I was, but I was overtraining. I was done, and it took me about 3 months to figure that out. That like, and I'm training differently now. I'm not running as much as I was. I'm still running a lot, but when it says on the calendar rest, I'm doing that now. I was like, oh no, I can go out for 3 miles today, and my calendar says rest, do nothing. That's exactly what I do. Is like you cannot go balls to the wall all the time. We weren't made to do that. We weren't made to do that. And that's why people, in my opinion, not the only reason, but in my opinion, quit after 3 weeks at the gym or quit after they invest. I'm going to go out all out for my spouse. I'm going to win her back. Yeah, you did it for 3 weeks and you did it so dang hard, then now you're quitting.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, we all know a marriage is not a sprint, it's a
Yeah.
lifetime.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just like it takes discipline to start, it also takes discipline to stay
Right.
off, to
Yeah.
rest.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
is one of the hardest parts, especially when you're always go, go, go. And that, that is part of the hustle culture of of the United States, I feel.
Yeah. And everything like, and it's an oversimplification. I hear that, but like anytime I hear simple hack or hack your life, I'm just like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm out, dude. I'm out. Like I
Yeah.
just am not interested in hacking anything. Because
Mm,
you know who hacked life? His name was Jesus. We don't need any more. Like just follow him. He hacked everything.
mm, I like it. I like it. I like it.
You don't need any more hacks.
I love this approach to discipline because it's so like it kind of it supplements what a lot of people are talking about in the industry today with the motivational stuff. But I love to learn, especially if it is this biblical, and how we're talking about working and how we're also talking about rest. All these things are in the Bible. Like all
Yeah.
these things have a
Yeah.
blueprint in the Bible of how to do it.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Pastor Thomas the other day, and him and I are very similar. We're both very driven people, and it's funny because we're both in a similar season where we're like, I think we kind of have to rest,
Hmm.
and rest isn't always just standing still or sitting still.
Yeah.
And I was talking, I shared this with Chip. Pastor Thomas gave this example of, he's like, I have a cup here, holds about 4 ounces. He's like, you have your water bottle there, that's what, 40, 60 ounces. They're both filled to the top. They're both full. The only difference is one holds more than the other. So he's like, what you need to do is redefine what full looks like for you. Now, we apply this to what we're doing today. What does discipline look like for you?
Love that.
Regardless of where you were in the past. Maybe you were a high level athlete. Maybe you used to work out an hour, 2 hours at the gym and you used to crush it. Great. But where are you today?
Yeah.
Because so many times we base our future on the past results that we used to do or we used to produce. But today's a different circumstance. Today's a different game. So if you have to build up, it's okay. Don't let your pride and
Yeah.
ego get in the way. I used to do this. I used to do that. That was
Yeah.
my issue.
Yeah.
With all my injuries and stuff, and me thinking back to, the SWAT training, all this crazy high speed stuff. Whenever I would get back into a workout, I would try to push it really hard, and just like you said, I would end up injuring myself 2 months into the program because I was pushing too hard and my body wasn't able to sustain it.
Yeah.
So play the long game. What is your new
Yeah.
full? What does that look like?
I love that. I of
Well,
that.
at the same time, I feel like you said, you just touched on it a bit, from the physical aspect, right? As when I remember hitting the gym at 25 and hitting the gym at 40. It's a completely different ball
Yeah.
game, and I have to be content with where I am today at 40
Yeah.
because there's no way I can be the same strength when I was at 25. I mean, I could, but then that means I would have to introduce other things to my body
Yeah.
to be able to keep me going at the pace that I was going at 25.
And
So
or
I,
let me. Oh, go ahead. I'm
no,
sorry. I
no,
didn't
go
want
ahead. No, no.
to. So maybe you could do it even potentially naturally, but are you willing to commit to that, right? Like,
Correct.
so when
Yeah.
you're 40, you have different commitments, and like
Mm-hmm.
one of the reasons I paused my training was my father-in-law and my dad were
Yeah.
having some health issues,
Correct.
and to be an ultra athlete, you have to have a lot of time. And I just looked at this realistically and said, I don't have the hours in the day. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there are relationship commitments that are more important to me. And you made the commitment, Chip, that said, like, yeah, I could devote 4 hours in the gym, but that's not my priority, right? So that's what Angelo is saying. Redefine what
Yes.
full is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And have
Um,
real expectations. I feel
yeah.
like that's I think, to me at least, the way I look at it when I look at discipline, I also set like actual goals that, realistic goals. I'm not expecting, by tomorrow to be, the next Elon Musk or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
just saying,
Yeah.
like, everything, I understand that there is a process.
Yeah.
However, if the process happens a lot faster than I anticipated, great.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna go at my own pace, like Angelo was saying, redefine what your pace, what your goals are, what your full actually looks like,
Yeah.
and go into it. And I feel like just reevaluate what exactly that looks like for you today, not yesterday or tomorrow, what it is today.
And tying this into what you were saying just a bit ago, Angelo, and this ties into to Chip what you were saying too about being 40 versus 24. Check your ego at the door, and that goes for your relationship, that
Yes.
goes for your business. Just like you said, like you are not going to be the next Elon Musk. Like get over yourself, right? But you might be the next this, right? Like I'm making it up. You might be the next thing that is needed in your specialty, right? So that was a really poor example, but I hope it's making sense there.
Yeah.
But like whatever it is that you have, that is what God gave you. Stop
Yeah.
trying to be Elon Musk. Stop trying to be Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Mm.
I am never going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. That is not my body type.
Yeah.
But you know what? I am built for running.
Mm.
That is like stop trying to be what you aren't built for, right?
Mm.
And I want to put this real practical example about so I can do it two ways. So this real practical example around this, like being humble means I was up to running easily, very easily, like just chill. On a weekend, I can go out and run 20 miles. This is like just what I do. Okay.
Crazy boy.
Talk about humbling was being out of breath after running 2 miles.
Hmm.
You know, like there's no way in hell I could have gone out and run 20 miles. I would have literally killed myself. All right. That's not how any of this works, right? So then these people go into the gym and lift like a crazy man, and then they can't even move their arms the next day, right? Like, no wonder you're quitting. Okay. Like, Chip's like, yeah, been there. So have I. Yeah. Right. But like have these like realistic expectations about who you are and where you're at. It was incredibly humbling to have to start over and say, okay, I can run 2 miles. I cannot
Mm.
run 20. But you
Mm.
know what? I finished 6 miles today, and during that run today, I said, I mean, if I had to, I could have run another 4 miles. I could have done 10 today,
That's beautiful.
you know? And the amount of time that it took me to get there, probably a month. So in this grand scheme of things too, we put in our head like, I'll never get there. I'll never get back. Stop believing that crap. Like you will. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
Mm,
Yeah. Stop
I love that.
stop killing your potential 2 minutes. It's the book like is it called 5 feet from gold or 3 feet from gold?
Three
Are you
feet from
familiar?
gold, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Like stop killing your potential but right before you've made it.
Hmm.
So
I
I
think
love that.
I
I
think you
love
can
that.
end with that. Like, stop killing your potential. I
I
mean, that's
do. That's
beautiful.
so so good, and I want to respect your time because I know you have to head out.
mm,
But I want us to do a quick round table. This is a great discussion, and I wish we had more time. Um, but what's your one? You already kind of said it, but I want to keep digging into Samuel. Like,
okay.
what's your quick takeaway? What's your tangible do this today tip? I'm gonna go with you next. We'll each kind of give her 1 minute. Here's your tip, your practical tip as we wrap up today's session. So,
Okay.
what do you got, Samuel?
So I've already said it, but I want to repeat it because like people right now, this is New Year's, people are looking for tangible and what can I do? Okay. And under no circumstance rely on your motivation.
Mm-hmm.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1 that shit and go.
Mm.
Hmm.
And that's it. I don't need a minute. Five, four,
Boom,
three, two, one, and go. That's
boom,
it. Go whether you want to or not.
boom.
Find your circle, find your people that some of these things you can't do it on your own. You need your discipline. Yeah, it starts with you, but you also need a core group of guys that will keep you motivated, that will
Yeah.
keep you pumping, that will keep
Yeah.
you going.
Mm, mm.
They'll
Amen
keep you
to that.
accountable. They'll keep you accountable because that accountability as a man, it's a big thing. And, be real, be open about it. If you failed, that's okay. You got your brothers that are going to carry you back up. Like Samuel said in the beginning, fall on your knees, not on your ass.
Mm.
Can I add since I'm reclaiming my time for just a second.
He's like,
Okay,
I
so
still have 30
yeah.
seconds.
So with that chip, like there's no such thing. Like this is science. I'm a hardcore science nerd, right? So this is from Prochaska, De Clemente, and Norcross, changes of theories of change. Okay.
Damn.
In order to succeed, you must fail. You
Hmm.
have to. That is how you succeed. Stop thinking you are going to succeed the first time. Nobody quits smoking the first time they do it. Failure is
Mm-hmm.
success. Change your
Ooh.
definition of failure. It is never failing. It's how you succeed. And I relinquish the rest of my time.
I love this. Okay, I'm gonna read this to you guys really quick, and we're gonna wrap with this. This is from. It's called "The Man in the Arena." It's from Theodore Roosevelt, a
Hmm.
speech that he gave a long, long time ago. And this is actually the painting for everyone that's seen the painting in my office. This is the painting I have behind me,
He
and we'll
gave this
wrap with this.
speech at the Sorbonne. I'm reading about this right now to a
Mm.
French audience. So he was speaking to old world people, by the way. He was trying to tell them, get your shit together, by the way.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
basically the cliff notes of what he's trying to say. But this is this is his actual speech. And it's I love it because my buddy painted that, and I had this image. I'm like, I like a coliseum. There's one gladiator in the middle, and everyone else is watching. So just picture that in your mind, and this is the words on the thing, on the painting. The man in the arena. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat.
Amen.
Well, before we end, we also have to give credit to the only one that deserves all the credit, and that's Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And he defeated everything. So let him redefine maybe your definition of discipline, your definition of your actions, and everything that you go forward in 2025.
That's it.
Amen.
That's it. This was a great episode. And with that,
Redwood out.
Without.
hey.